Bloody hell. How are we doing, people? Welcome back to James Allcott channel. I've just got back to my hotel room after an outrageous game of football where Man City have utterly dominated Real Madrid, defending champions Real Madrid. The Real Madrid that, despite suffering in a lot of games, generally had utter quality that was a little bit too much for most teams. And actually it was a team that looked really good in that first leg. But in this second one, I was so lucky to be there. And I'm going to chuck some videos over the top so you can kind of hear my voice. But obviously this isn't the best setting. So I think I'll put all these videos over the top and you can kind of see the atmosphere and all the bits that I picked up along the way. And there was such a sense of occasion there at the stadium today. And the crowd made a huge difference. Now, the Man City crowd, there's a lot of talk about it a lot of the time. And I think I found, look, I'm part of the problem, right? I was so fortunate. I got offered tickets and I was like, wow, this is like a level of football that I haven't seen live. And that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I'll talk about in this video because I've got the stats in front of me here and they really do tell a story. But when you're watching it and you'll see from the angle that I kind of had, what I was able to see a lot more as opposed to sort of the overarching tactical side was the little individual moments that this Man City team had and the collective as well. But overall, just the sort of little nuances that you only see, as you guys know, when you go to the game. And this team has absolutely everything. Like, do you want incessant running? Yep, you've got that in Bernardo Silva. Do you want skill? Yep, you've got that in pretty much every player on the pitch. Do you want size? Yep, you've got that in pretty much the bulk of the back four and Rodri and Haaland. Do you want set piece delivery? Now, actually, what's amazing in this game, I think, was that Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland, I can't believe I'm going to say this, in a semi-final, in the second leg of a semi-final that Man City won 4-0, were the worst two players for Man City tonight. Crazy. But like, the press was high and the crowd was up for it. And it felt like it made a difference. The sort of concoction of that with the high press. And that's the other thing, the sort of the geometry of what you see when you're there at the game was really huge, like something that I just don't get to see a lot of the time. And you see it on the TV, but when you see these players in person and see the quality that they've got, even little things like Gundogan. Gundogan is the way he receives the ball and the way that he scans so that when he receives the ball, he could go with the outside of his right foot if he needs to, if there's a player there, but often or if it's the right way to go, it's the right idea to go with your left, he goes with that left foot. He always makes the right technical decision. Rodri was cruising through that game. Man City, I think on the whole, I can have a little look here. In terms of their duels, I felt like they won most of their duels. Let's see if I can find it. Total duels won 54 to 39 duels won. And it did feel like that. Every time it sort of got to a moment where two players were going at it, Man City came through. And so as much as there's control in this Man City side, there's just so much defensive brilliance there as a collective. Like, they are drilled in terms of their positioning, and you just see it throughout. You see it in terms of sort of getting back in defensive transition. So Haaland doing that, Bernardo Silva is just I think I've said this before, but like defensive is just a little rat. And I say that in the best way. Rodri comes out with the ball every time he plays. John Stones, I mean, wow. This lad from Barnsley that would sort of seemed to be a bit like Bambi on ice is now just such a composed performer against Real Madrid that's got Cruz and Modric and Valverde and they were all in whoever their marker was. They were in their pocket because they just couldn't breathe. And Courtois sort of struggling with his clearances as well. Like, to a man, you could go through that Man City side and you could see little moments of just clarity that comes from confidence. I think that's the big thing here. And Real Madrid, I thought they, might suffer. Glenn Murray said this, and it just stayed in my head. It's like they are very good at suffering and getting around it. But, Benzema barely touched the ball. Modric was off colour, wasn't he? They were all just off. And as much as you have to look at the context here, and Real Madrid in big games come to the, rise. And they have the experience. So you can only put it down to Man City making them look as ordinary as they did tonight. They have absolutely every ingredient. Runners in behind in Haaland. The passes to him weren't great tonight, really. And yeah, as I say, he was a little bit off himself. Grealish looked great. He's the starting point for sort of, popping inside. Great footwork. Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz is so much better on the ball than I realised. And again, it only sort of slaps you around the face when you're, yards away from it. It was really so enjoyable to watch them play, and it was never in doubt, was it? They were utterly dominant, and surely they're unstoppable. Because I was walking home with Fogden, and I was saying, what on earth are you supposed to do to stop this team? Because again, as I said, the sort of the torture of the passing, the control, the possession, the right touches, the right, awareness, the simple passing, the simple triangles, the close passing to sort of freeze the opposition at times, then the switches, the pace, the size, the physicality. They are frightening, absolutely frightening, and had their way with Real Madrid today, who offered absolutely nothing. 6 big chances to none for Real Madrid. I think in the first half they didn't have a shot, offered up a tiny bit more in the second half, but Man City was sort of just managing the game, and they did so really, really well, really brilliantly. And yeah, just despite anyone sort of being outrageously good, you can go through the goals, and Bernardo Silva's finishing is at the header is just brilliant. A couple of set pieces there as well. But just elite. Just an elite team at their apex. So comfortable. So comfortable. And, just Guardiola's just so clever, isn't he? I thought Kyle Walker was unbelievable as well. Like, Vinicius Jr. did not have a sniff. He literally had him in his pocket. And again, sort of the awareness, but that the cruising of his speed for Kyle Walker was absolutely brilliant. And they all know what they're doing. They all had pictures defensively. They always seem to know what Real Madrid were doing. And we've kind of been waiting for this with Real Madrid. When was it going to be that moment that they kind of came unstuck? They've always had that quality, but tonight was the night. Tonight was the night. There was chat about the fact that, look, Benzema had a quiet game. We won't be having 2 quiet games. Well, he definitely did. They got absolutely thumped, crushed by this Man City team, who are I just can't see a fault in them at the moment. And I just think they're completely unstoppable. If Inter Milan beat Man City, it will be one of the greatest shocks. Not because Inter Milan are terrible. It's just this Man City side are outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Whew. Bloody enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. Who was your man of the match? You guys would have got a more sort of overarching look at it, because my seats were quite low, and you probably had that where you're watching the game and it becomes about the individuals a little bit more as well. But was able to kind of see everyone, but not consistently throughout. So let me know what you think about this game. Who was your man of the match? Is there a weakness in this Man City side? Because I would be intrigued to see it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you enjoyed yourself. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. I'll turn it off now, won't I? Beep.